concluding by coming into a conclusion of things which are new, which are changed, and our classrooms are not same anymore. The attitude of students are not same anymore. So all these changes we have seen in very short time post pandemic. So today I am going to talk about certain situations which you all agree, which has really caused a lot of impact, and looking up to the scenarios in our classrooms, the attention span, the students' interest, it is totally different. So what we used to see on the engagement model before 2020 towards today is a drastic change. Um, there is a lot of impact which is being created. One is the student's attitude towards understanding the subject matter, or respecting the teaching faculties, or the expectations from the college atmosphere. It is obviously, on a different scale. There is a lot of negative impact which has been created on the education institution framework. Why this attitude is changed, and how it is been impacting our teaching fraternity, our classrooms. So it is debatable. So the lot of experiences which you can share at each other, and see how this gap of what is the expectation towards what we're teaching has to be bridged. And the expectation from parents is different nowadays. It's not students alone. There are a lot of instances where the handholding is more nowadays, if you see, with the parents addressing issues. A student who is not given full uh, freedom to choose their career, or to choose the courses which they want to. Many of the times, they are handled by parents' decisions, and they are overpowered by this opportunity. Very recently, in our campus, also we are seeing even the technical education side, first grade students versus technical students. A lot of changes we can see in the last 2 3 years, and this is going to remain. And the challenge between how we can navigate this change towards how we can make these students to attend the classes is getting wider. The gap between the expectation towards the way in which we are teaching. So today I'm going to talk to you certain aspects about not something very unique, and which is a theory of it, but you already have come across. So probably we can agree and disagree on certain aspects. We can look up to what is the learning we get out of the situation. We're all teachers. We're all been teaching at various level, at various institutions, great places across India. So probably the problem what we can foresee across India is similar, and not specific to any region or any graduation level as such. Um, the way in which students are learning these days towards what was previously taught, and previously the time spent on educating the students is totally on a different scale. As I said, there are a lot of factors which are now coming to picture, whether on the scale of convincing students on what we are educating them to. So online classes, like in our previous presentations, I've told online classes have really given way in which student can take education. There are a lot of courses which have been offered from many IITs, many popular institutes across globe. A student from India can get certified at US. So an academy, Coursera, MOOC courses have been offered. So online medium has given a new direction of learning. And how can I demonstrate body language when I'm talking online? How can I demonstrate my effective emotions in this online medium? So this is one big challenge, probably a giant of issue which is in front of us. How can we, when I'm not visible fully, how can I convince a student on body language aspect of it? So this is one great challenge which is lying in front of us. So now today we are eminent leaders, and the interaction speed at which we are learning is at a very fast pace. So online classes have given rise to student learning from various um, modes of softwares, more modes of education level. They also come with certain disadvantages at our junction, like 50% of the students are only able to grasp on the classes which are taken online because of the less physical attention, because we are not looking at the aspect of understanding the body language of the presenter or a teacher. The effectiveness of presentation or teaching is just 50%. So we are not able to convince the online participants on the aspect of how well we can be communicating, because the aspect of emotion is not demonstrated. We will not know if the other person is really putting in effort to learn, or we will not have initiative. More so, the attention span of these students are deteriorating from whatever we used to say 10 minutes to now few seconds. Looking up to how students are now changing towards the adaptation of presentations. So first couple of 2 3 minutes they are losing their interest, and we are not able to get them back towards the learning aspects. So why these changes are fast, rapid, and how we can look up to bridging this gap is the big question mark which all of us are looking up to. Now, when I talk about all these trivial factors which are seen in front of us, um, you must have also read some articles, come across certain aspect of news where it says teaching fraternity is the second most stressful job in this planet. Teachers are more prone to get stressed than any other profession. So this has been, they've done an ample study and found out that why teachers are getting stressed. What is the aspect which are stressing these teachers, and how we can look up to overcoming the stress level, because there are a lot of things which we are burdened with, a lot of work which we have to do. And it's not only giving justice to a set of students or a certain number of students. We have to really see to that the entire class is getting the relative experiences of education. Likewise, there are certain instances where we are also not able to give justice, because when it comes to online teaching, I know my videos are recorded that will be watched some other time. So my emotional aspect, the emotional connect is deteriorated, so it is not there. But when I'm talking about body language, so this I'm confining only to the physical presence, and body language demonstration cannot be implemented in the online. So my submission to eminent professors here, that the body language aspect, as we are talking today, as the topic which goes on, can only be utilized and can be facilitated when we are doing a physical lecture or a physical presentation, rather than looking up to how can we demonstrate our body language online. This is one thing which we will not be able to master, because the option to show the entire body over the class presentation is difficult. So we are just half visible, and we will not be able to demonstrate all the emotions which is looked up to in the online medium. Likewise, there are certain advantages and disadvantages which we have come across, and these are all very simple. When I say, when we look up to not only the exams now, the campus recruitment opportunities which I day in and day out take care at our university. 99% of the companies are relying on online tools for conducting examination. So tools are getting smarter. The softwares which are driven by AI is actually giving us a lot of flexibility to these company executives to conduct online open book exams. So they're getting smarter. Now I can't when toggle between tabs when I'm presented with a question paper with a link to take the test. If I open another tab, the test will get disconnected. If I try to watch some other material, either a phone or somebody who is behind the screen. So these retina scanners, the webcams inside the laptops or softwares are so well designed that they are watching our retinas. They are looking at the eyeball movement, whether the candidate is watching the screen or is getting distracted with some other information beyond the screen search. So these companies are laying on the so these companies are actually relying full time on these softwares which are giving real time exposure on how we can utilize the time, utilize by not traveling much to the location. So these are all various advantages which we look up to while looking at giving exams for online in online mode. But there are also disadvantages. So a certain specific disadvantage which we look up to is also internet connection, because the access to network is not much. But I will tell you some shocking study which has been conducted pre-corona and post-corona. So in 2017-18, uh, 28% of Indian households only had internet connection. 16% women had only mobile data, whereas males had 36% of mobile data. So 1.5 million schools across India closed down, affecting 286 million children because of improper education or infrastructure which has been created. So MHRD pushed around 649 crores in 2021 to 604 crores from the last quarter to increase online medium of education. So this was pre-corona, whatever we are talking about. What happened in corona and the importance of online medium is the gaining lot of traction. There's a lot of us, if we have seen, everybody had access to internet. Now school children had access to data. So sale of all these tablets and phones increased because they had to attend regular classes, and it gave rise to a lot of handheld devices coming handy to our school children. Now, when we have access to school children, the attention span towards physical lecture is deteriorating. So, online medium of teaching with lot of graphics, lot of cartoons, or towards lot of experimental data which can give us, is not able to justify to whatever physical mode of learning we can give to the students. So many a times we are failing in gaining the attention of the audience or our students, because the graphical data which they are getting or the exposure towards online medium is better. Now, how can I make justice? How can I look up to uh, having a hold on these students for another 1 hour? So 1 hour I need to be in front of class, and how will this 1 hour be extremely productive? So when I know that the attention span of the students is not more than 5 minutes, I will have to engage the students for another 55 minutes. So likewise, the challenges which are presented for us as a teachers are increasing. The dynamics of requirements around us are changing. Yet we have to convince the students on the aspect of learnability, on the aspect of examination, on the aspect of fairness. So there is a lot of challenge which is being posed in front of us. First of all, teachers are very highly prone to getting stressed on that the digital learning, the way in which we have to present our data digitally. The use of digital access is not handy to most of us. Now we have to rely on somebody else to help us in all the aspect of audio video presentations. Many a times this is now causing a lot of distress to us, whether for the method of explanation, let it be the method of using this digital medium, digital boards, smart boards. So classes are now conducted smart. So, and how will I do justice in presenting this? So 70% of the population in 2020 had smartphones. The way in which transaction happened between 26% of people using phones to 70% of people having smartphones. 47% of people are having laptops. To complement the survey, we did a very recent survey at our campus in Mysore, and we found out that 92% of the students are having a personal laptop with them. So this has reduced our rely on setting up lab infrastructures. So for online test or any of the subject matter examination which we have to convert, we will just send the link and students are taking remotely on their devices. So this has given rise to in way in which we can use and access data, open book examinations. So examinations are plenty, but there is also another challenge in which we have to define the question now. See that knowing that how a student will have to understand and give the answer with abundant information which they have. So chat GPT, Copilot, and all these tools are making life easy for the students to take information. So likewise, we have lot of advantages which have been given also. Another disadvantage which has given rise to decrease in the attention span of students are the social media addiction. So it is very slow. It itself is a slow pandemic. Many students are now wasting a lot of time on social media. There are other important information which they are ignoring and probably looking up to Facebook and Instagram. So LinkedIn is actually taking over a lot of important information. LinkedIn is a site where we all are logged in, but there are certain aspect which we look up to where students are not active in LinkedIn, but they are more active in Insta and Facebook rather than other medium of softwares. So this social media has given rise to the students' attention span, and they are not able to use correct way in which they can concentrate in the class. Otherwise, this has impacted their health. They're constantly on phone, they're constantly scrolling. So likewise, the access to this handheld device is also more in the classrooms. So while we are teaching, we have seen a lot of our students meddling with phone without our knowledge, without making the other person know they're still using their handheld devices, hardwares at large. So how this is impacting, the major impact on the students who are using this medium of negative impact. Their concentration is going low. They're having sleep disaster. Their behavior concerns is changing. They're getting more irritable. These are all some common information which we all know. When we know this is what is which is created, when we know the audience which are in front of us are coming with so much of information, so much of data, they also come with less concentration skills. How will I again make justice in presenting and making impact on that? So let us go to certain aspects of understanding the cues in from the students, understanding how we can bridge the gap between the expectations and towards what we know. The stress level of faculty is also at a higher level now, because students are going to social media. They're actually writing about the lecture series. They're giving rating our presentations. There are a lot of challenges which are posed earlier, pre-pandemic. Probably we did not have so many issues when we are talking about physical education. Now with the recent evolve of online education, and they're also predicting down the lane another 5 to 8 years, online universities will be more than the physical universities. So we would not require so many classrooms, so many laboratories, but online education will be more popular. And in Western countries, now we know it is quite popular for many years, and COVID has not impacted. But in India, also Indian education scenarios will be changing in another 5 years. And how can we be justifying on this aspect? So the content in which we are delivering is the way where we can demonstrate body language, and how we can scale this up to the next level is what I'm going to talk about. This part of presentation, I'm going to touch upon the body language aspect of it. And again, the presentation is not confined towards some data which we are not aware of. These are all some common cues which we have already witnessed. And I'm sure we all have undergone the trainer training and other things. So many a times, when we have undergone the TTT training, training in eminent schools like Dale Carnegie or other places. They actually have emphasized on the aspect of attracting the audience, attracting them towards your presentation for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. But our sessions, our teachings, lectures are not for 15-20 minutes, and we have to go for a longer duration. So for 1 hour, keeping hold of our students and keeping them engaged is a really Herculean task. But somehow we have to manage, and we have to look up to the aspect of presentations which we bring in here. So the aspect of keeping our learner engaged, as I said, understanding their cues, and whether these people are really attentive. So we have to really look up to understanding our audience. What are the cues our audience are giving me? In first 5 seconds we can break the attention or make the attention of the student. So in 5 seconds, if we can create an aura of impact, the audience are glued, the students are glued towards our presentation for the entire 40 minutes or 50 minutes of our class. But in the 5 seconds, if we don't create a atmosphere, they will have preconceived, because the students come with preconceived notions. So many a times, as soon as we say I'm Dr. Pradeep, so students will have, okay, he is a researcher, he's read well, he's presented, he's been in different places. So they have built up that we should not ask any question. But even though when we say that this presentation should be interactive, it has to be more focused towards asking questions, none of our students actually have come up on their own and ask questions. So why is the psychology behind the students getting afraid about coming forward and asking questions? Many a times, these psychiatrists have really put in across certain study and said, because students are not understanding what they are expected to, they will not come forward. The social stigma of being wrong or being laughed at is one which is actually holding a lot of our students to come in front. So this is common. This is very, very usual in all our classes. But looking up to the aspect of understanding the audience, understanding our teachers, why they are not coming forward, whether they are uh, getting the subject knowledge of what we are teaching, so understanding their cues is very, very important. Like many a times, students are present, they are extremely attentive, they want to show that they are attentive. So many a times when they are nodding their head continuously, their psychology would always be teaching them that when you're sitting in front, nod your head. So when you nod your head, it's a kind of acknowledgement that you are attentive. But in reality, in psychology, they say if a person is nodding too much of his head looking at the speaker, they are not attentive. They're just presuming, they're showcasing that they are attentive, but their attention span is outside the room, outside the classroom. They are thinking of something else. So look at a student who is constantly glued up to your presentation. He was not looking at the PPT which is being presented, but looking at the presentation. So that shows that they're building up a question. They are building up curiosity inside them. So likewise, we all know the 10-20-30 rule, which says 10 slides, not more than 10 slides should be our presentations. 20% of the presentation should 20 minutes of presentation, and 30 should be the font size. So 10-20-30 rule of our presentation, if we follow, lot of us will be making
Exactly.
difference in the students understanding. So likewise, if you are following the 10-20-30, I'll repeat again: 10
Zero double eight
slides,
four.
non more than 10 slides, 20 minutes of our presentation. So fortunately today I have a longer time for 1 minute. But if you look up to TEDx videos, so all presentations, all presenters will not stretch beyond 15 minutes, because they know it is very difficult to hold on to the attention of the audience. Beyond 15 minutes, they'll not be glued. But look at the trivia that all our classes are now scheduled at 50 minutes and 1 hour duration. Likewise, the 10-20-30 rule has also given us raise to understanding our candidates with their eye contact. So we will have to mark X in the room. So looking at marking X, if I'm marking an X, that means I'm looking at the entire corner, four quadrant corners, and having an eye contact with each and every student. So eye contact makes a perfect way in which we can keep our audience engaged. I always make sure I will have a proper eye contact. And when I say that, having an eye contact doesn't mean that I'll have to stare at each and every individual. So this is very, very important in looking up to having an eye contact, giving proper time to your students. So first instance of having an eye contact. Um, the second instance of our body language is showing that we are in authority. The way in which we stand, the way in which we present. If we are moving too much in a classroom, if we are presenting, the audience are getting distracted looking at you. So have a four box structure where we just stand and move in that four boxes, not much of movements on the stage or on the podium, near the podium. If we are moving too much, the students are losing their interest. So don't let us not you move too much, standing at one place and start presentation. Using of lot of hand gesture is another important um, learning. While I'm explaining, if I'm using a lot of hand gestures that demonstrate that I'm trying to explain something from my heart. If I'm just stable in like this, and I'm kinetic and not using any of my body language, students will not understand. So these are all simple aspects. So when I'm presenting, I'll make sure I occupy the center of the stage and I'm standing with my full posture. So while I'm sitting, the folded lap shows authority. The disconnection happens with the audience. They will not want to interact with a person who's actually crossing their leg. So you all know the basic body language stances. If we are closing an arm, that means I am not interested in conversation, or I'm not interested in taking any information from it. But likewise, if a student also is crossing their arms, so we should understand that they are not in the mood to listen to us. They are just wanting to run away from the class. So likewise, some small cues which they are demonstrating is looked up to. So if I'm closing my hands in the hips, that shows authority. That shows, I know better than you. So likewise, crossing arms is also authoritative, and these are all demonstrated by eminent CEOs and with high experience level. But slouching in any of our walk, or if we are slouching and walking through in the classroom, is a negative body language. So we will not be able to attracting our students here. So there is a lot of instances where the student gets disconnected because of this posture. Always having a powerful pose is quite important. When I say power pose, having a smile on the face and having confidence that the presentation is delivered at a time junction. So certain small delays in starting the presentation, or meddling with the laptop, or starting the talk or anything without the stipulated time, or if it is extending certain aspects, will actually take us in the 5 seconds quadrant. So we had to be present beforehand. We have to be ready with the materials. We have to be looking up to whether all our slides are working well, so that if we are ready, that the importance to the presentation is demonstrated. Many a times our students actually have a preconceived notion. If I say that I am going to address you on the opportunities which are in front, so student always feels that okay, he's going to bore us with some aspects of futuristic thinking. Likewise, how can I make that interesting? Like last time we implemented certain quizzes, certain aspect of learning which will be taken there. So bring in the element of surprise, bringing in the element of neutrality. So rather than going to the class and saying, "Good morning, class. I'm going to teach you this," I would rather go to the class and say, "I had an interesting experience while I was walking in. So bringing in the element of surprise is the aspect which I wanted to demonstrate to you, which have always helped me, or starting a class with certain news article which happened today will gain attention and say, oh, this guy is not talking regular, he's not like other faculties, he's coming into the a part of understanding in the later stages. So gaining attention with the element of surprise is what we have to look up to. All of us know that voice modulation plays a very, very important role. So if I'm not varying my pitch, if I'm continuing with the same pitch, students are distracted. The way in which we adjust our pitch, adjust our volume, adjust our tonality, is where we actually create a lot of impact. So varying our pitch is quite important. Now, this is in the social circle. This is a new terminology, proxemics. Proxemics is to demonstrate how well we understand the audience, how well we have to gel with our student fraternity, and what is the space in which we have to talk to them. Now, the challenge is lying in front of us, is at when we are addressing female students, how should we be demonstrating? When we are addressing male students, how should we, what space? So they have looked up to a basic communication channel, the proxemic space, which says, when we are close to people, close to a set of audience, or close to a specific person, we tend to be at a very closer proximity. When we want to distance, when we say that we are standing at a distance, that means we are not connected very well, but we are presenting. We are trying to create a space of communication to get closer. So proxemic spacing is where when we can also implement, and we can check it with our regular routine or the social circle, where there are aspects of communication at our friends level, communication at relative level. So if you think they are talking at a distance, that means they are avoiding crucial information to be passed on. So similar way, the proxemic space, we will also talk about the difference while we are sitting, the space in between me and my other colleague. So a lot of this proxemic spacing is looked up to using in the classroom as well. How, if I'm walking through my presentation in the class, if I'm standing at a specific place, what is the message which is being demonstrated? How students like to listen to our presentations, whether we are moving it in the class, or whether we are static in one place and making them understand. So this is a quite important scenario which we have to look up to on the aspect of proximate spacing. When we are with students, we should not get very close to, though they are the best of our student, we know them very well. There's a new POSH policy which is coming. We have to be really, really careful in addressing the aspect of proximate spacing with female students, especially. Likewise, other instances on how we present ourselves, the attire in which we are presenting. So very minimal jewelry for women, even for men these days. Uh, Whether we have an proper eye contact, what is the arrangement of the room, whether we can see each and every audience or the student fraternity. We have eye contact with the entire first bench to last bench, is very, very important, because many of the times I have witnessed classrooms without podium, without stage. So if I'm hiding myself behind the podium, it shows that I don't want to show my confidence, show my intelligence to the students, but I want to hide in between the podium, before the podium, and actually show my nervousness. So students expect, or the audience expect, you to walk out of your comfort zone, which is the podium. So when we walk out of the podium itself, we are showing the dynamics of teaching, the dynamics of sharing the knowledge. Let the audience see you fully. They have to see the entire body language. They have to see the entire aspect of walking, the entire aspect of using a lot of hand gestures. That is when we are creating a difference in our aspect of our knowledge sessions. So many other things which are common, which we know. I have prepared a small 12 pointer ideology, which we as teachers can implement. So first thing is be ourselves, dress as you are comfortable, because many a times we have seen when we talk about presentations, when we talk about seminars, we always have a tendency to wear a full suit or a coat or a blazer. If we are not comfortable, so we'll start sweating. So that actually gives rise to be forgetting on the aspect of communication which we have to make. Likewise, look up to if that presentation area is properly lit up with have proper ventilation. Then only you venture into wearing something warm, wearing an extra accessory at your attire. Or else the regular formal attire will actually gain attention and popularity. Very now with very uh, recent technology terminologies, we have seen many eminent speakers and researchers coming and talking in their very casual attire. They're not even in full suit, they're not even in formals. So likewise, when we go and reach out to student, my boss in my previous organization always used to say, your dress is the first instance which a student is getting out of your body language. So if you are casually looked up to, a student will think, okay, this guy is a little flexible. He is not extremely professionally dressed. So that means he understands my wavelength. I am also wearing a jeans pant and a t-shirt, and the presenter is also coming at the attire with the jeans pant and t-shirt. The connection is already built before even expressing, before even talking. The connection is already built. So looking up to what is that we have to wear is kind of very very crucial. And also asking the right questions. So many a times we have seen many distractions happening in the classes. So pointing out the right set of students who are actually not interesting. When the student is not interested, he will see to that he distracts his neighbor. And if the neighbor is distracted, he will distract some more people. So there is a cluster of people who would create a disturbance. Rather than addressing a couple of students, why can't we address it then and there? Why can't we ask a specific set of students uh, to not create a distance? Or when we can pose a question, or we can pose some a joke on it, it's just making him aware that we are watching him. So whoever is creating a disturbance. So we all know in the aspect of psychology that this disturbance will always be started in the last rows. It is not never started in the first row. So addressing these students who get distracted, so keep them at bay. Have a constant eye watch. I scan, looking up to using a lot of the cues which we have using our body language. We should never point out with a finger. That is one real negative aspect. We should not point out finger at an audience and ask them to reply. So we have to be extremely polite in asking them, can you repeat what I said? Is there some disturbance which you created? So this way, there the aspect of keeping neutral energy in the presentation is very very important. If we point out target a specific person, they tend to get rebellious, and they see that they create a lot of other disturbances. So keeping your audience at calm, at bay is very, very vital. So not too much of jokes, not too much of being very serious, but using relevant examples, going to the level of their understanding. Because these days, I'm just giving you an example. If I am doing a management study, if I'm relating to a new recent Enfield bullet bike or the production planning of KTM, so that is gaining attention, rather than saying big things about Mercedes Benz or in the aspect of other companies. Relate to giving examples which are student friendly, which they are using day in and day out. So the third point which I want to tell you is greet at the door. Be punctual, calm, and students. When if students are late, don't get angry on them. Don't make them stand outside. So greeting immediately on the aspect of bringing the respect inside the room is very very vital. If a student does not is not punctual, so don't give out negative aspect of it immediately. You can always humiliate a student after the class or talk to them and ask them not to continue, rather than making fun of them or asking them to leave without attending the classes. It will create a negative impact on the speaker. It always brings in the aspect of fear inside the classroom, but when fear is taking the upper hand, the level of understanding goes low. We can't force anybody to learn. We can only justify our learning and teachings by being very silent. uh, the fifth funda here, rider, which we have to look up to, is show up to give. Um, we will let us not take specific comments negatively. Let us not venture into pointing out some mistake by a student. So give him some ample space. So what I have always done in my class, if I see that somebody is getting distracted, I'll have frequent eye contact first. The second instance, I'll make sure that I will point out an aspect of learning and ask him to explain, or I will ask him to give out relevant examples. So if one instance at the beginning of a class we do it, the entire class is stuck, rather than just scolding him or taking undue disadvantage. So this has created an atmosphere in which we can deliver good results to the expectation. Proper eye contact, as I said, have an X mark at the entire class. So look up to each ends of the classroom. When in the process of looking at each end, we would have screened through the entire left rows and the right rows, and it presumes that the student has proper eye contact. And again, speaking very slowly but efficiently, the student, because we know the multiple methods of learning, multiple ways in which student is getting information. Some student is a quick grasper, but sometimes there is a student who is actually letting understanding it early. We have to look up to these logos, the aspect of their speed of understanding and making them to understand. As I said in the earlier presentation, please focus on the ones who are nodding. So these people are the ones who are actually faking it. They are not genuine. They are actually showcasing that they are very attentive, but they are just showing you on their body language that they are not attentive. So storytelling is about the way in which we start our presentation, or the way in which we can debrief the understanding of that subject towards narrating into a story. So how can you narrate a Robin Hood story towards leadership aspect? How can we narrate management skills towards Tata's venture capital? How can we look up to teaching a certain aspect from Mahabharata and Ramayana and bridging it to our learning? So many a times, breaking the monotony of being extremely vocal about that specific subject, or towards starting the presentation with a story, or the aspect of bringing aspect of examples which are very constant, is quite very very vital. um, Moving into the audience. So if you see there is a certain set of students which who are creating a trouble in the class, we just have to go and stand next to them, or make sure we are moving towards them. They, with the shame, with the guilt of creating the disturbance, they would actually stop whatever they're doing, and they will forego the aspect. Lastly, saying thank you with your full heart gains us the recognition. They're extremely happy about um, our greetings, our way of approach and everything. So with humility, thanking the class with humility has always worked. So this is about the body language aspect of it. I hope I have said a certain aspect of body language tricks and tips for you. And I'm aware 99% of all of you are knowing about these things. I want your attention for another few minutes, few seconds of what are the challenges now, how things are evolving around us, and that teachers 21st century challenges which we have to be addressing. In spite of talking about certain aspects of, though it was not my topic today, but I thought this is some information which I can share it to you, and you can also debate upon it or share some stories relating to the aspect of our challenges which we faced. We will have certain unique challenges. Times, the challenges are specific to a city or a college, and most of our challenges which we are facing is across globe. Integrating technology is the number one challenge which we are facing as teachers. We are not well versed in using technology, the skills which we can deploy, or the last time which I showed you on the aspect of tools which we use. So that is one major challenge which we are looking up to. Balancing teaching methods, whether to go completely online, whether we have to use the blended mode of teaching, because many a times, if we see most of the schools in the tier 1 cities are functioning only for 3 days, and the next 3 days they are actually functioning for the hybrid model. Balancing teaching methodology, one day I'm taking an online class, another day I'm teaching them physically. So the connection, the grouping, the aspect of bringing the audience towards understanding on the previous class towards the new class is getting challenging. Preparing students for job market, I can go on for a separate presentation for this. Now every student comes with an expectation of getting the outcome of placement, and the job market has certain aspect of requirements. We always talk about bridging gap, but we always say there is a gap between what the industry is required towards what a student is presented. So a lot of times we looking up to the previous generation towards the newer generation. They are not hardworking. They don't want to look up to solving problems in as easier hardworking mode. They always get into the software. Dependency on software skills are more. Chat GPT. So if they're stuck on certain programs, go back to their parents rather than come to the students. So this respect which has been generating around us is also quite challenging now. Catering to diverse students because of the access with information and access to online medium. We have various set of people from across globe who are interested to listen to us, and that is reaching out to a specific set of students, are quite important now. um, I'll quickly navigate through some of the other challenges. Limited resources. Some of our educational institutions might not have the required resources to be updated with technology and digitalization. So that is one challenge. So teacher cannot navigate through screen timings towards the aspect of behavior. That is another challenge. Before I move to the next slide, I just want to take a pause and plug in my laptop, please.
Sir, Pradeep sir, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. I'm just plugging my laptop.
It's
So
okay, sir.
while I was talking about challenge, this is another challenge which is not there on the screen. Uh, so the access to digital environment, the access towards internet, the access towards online presentations are quite challenging. Um, so work-life balance, it is totally off our hands. There is a lot of challenges. As I said, we can list out empty number of challenges which are being posed. um, Staying up to date, so with lot of our work schedules and assignments at our campus, we are not able to be constantly updated. So these are quite um, similar challenges which all of you are facing, I believe. Another newer challenges which we are looking up to is communicating with parents. Uh, Parents have become more interested in understanding what their kids are getting to, what is the aspect of learning what students are getting. So their interference has is increased in the last 2 3 years. I presume you must have also witnessed it. Pressure from administrators, that differs at the scale of our universities and colleges. Lot of work, administrative work. um, so now counseling is a new terminology which everybody are talking about. Students are getting depressed. They are actually giving up very easily now. The aspect of counseling students along with academics are um, getting more challenging. So students, disciplined students can be time consuming and emotionally taxing process. So a lot of time, these students are actually foregoing that. They have to be following lot of punctuality. So this is the presentation which I wanted to share.